this law of attraction doesn't come. I always say I have a new word for it. I call it muscle conditioning. You have to rechain and train your entire mental conditioning. So if it is negative and it's all criticism and judgment, then just write all that crap down. Write it down on one piece of paper, right? And that's just exactly what Bob had me do, right? If you line down the paper, this is all your criticism and judgment. Now change it into a positive, present, curious, and or state that you want it to be in.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive State Podcast. I am your host, Dr. V, triple board certified MD and performance and longevity expert. And today we talk about money. Why are we talking about money in 2025? Well, I'm sure many people want it, but why are we talking about money in a performance and longevity podcast? Well, you know, our financial health is reflective of our internal health as well. You know, many experts say that if you're struggling financially, it takes a big toll on your health, and not having the right tools or understanding the right tools to be financially healthy could be very, very stressful. It deals with our mental health. Our mental health affects our emotional health, which affects our physical health. And so I wanted to give you those tools. So as much as becoming the next version of us, reaching our next potential, involves improving our physical body so that we have human potential. But when we step into our authentic energy and start serving people, and then we also have the tools to know how to get that energy back, because when we give out energy, we receive energy, and that giving and receiving just keeps all that energy in flow, and that will also give you financial abundance. Now, there are energetic principles to this, but there's also practical and physical principles on how to save money, how to earn money, and how to best grow your money. And today's guest, Loral Langemeier, is an expert of that. She's known as the Millionaire Maker. And this is an episode I shot in my Thrive State Summit. And if you want full access to all 50 guests from my Thrive State Summit, go to mythrivestate.com/pro and use the code ThriveState50 to receive 50% off all digital products. And just to give you a jump start, get free resources on performance and longevity by going to ThriveStateStarter.com and get a toolkit so that you can journal and make yourself accountable to the changes you want to make this year to get you to your next level by going to mythrivestate.com/toolkit. Now, one of the things I'm super excited for you to try out this year is how I can deliver precision health advice to you. You can hire me as your digital coach, but you could also create a digital twin of yourself. By using a smartphone, you could scan yourself and it will reverse engineer your biology to give you precision tactics on how you should be eating. Should you be fasting? What type of workouts are best for you? And it also tells you what your personality is like, how your brain is wired, so that are you doing the things that put you in flow, or are you doing things that are putting you out of flow? Anyway, that is super, super cool. The digital twin and then also the digital AI coach. You could try them both out for free by going to shay.group/Dr. Kien Vuu. Spelled out, that is SHAE.GROUP/DR-KIEN-VUU. So here's to your financial health in 2025. And remember always, you are your best medicine. Hello, and welcome back to another session of the Thrive State Summit. With me here today is Loral Langemeier. She's the CEO and founder of Live Out Loud, Inc., a true maverick in the world of finance. Her mission is clear: to simplify wealth building and empower everyone to achieve financial success. Loral's innovative 3 to 5 year wealth building approach has transformed countless individuals into millionaires, making her a beacon of hope for the average Jills and Joes worldwide. Endorsed by luminaries like Bob Proctor and T. Harv Eker, Loral has shared her financial wisdom on esteemed platforms such as CNN and CNBC. Her mantra is simple: say yes and figure out how to get things done. She believes in reshaping our relationship with money and surrounding ourselves with those who's mastered it. Loral's journey from corporate world to the entrepreneurship and wealth mastery demonstrates that anyone can achieve their dreams through hard work and persistence. As a single mother of two, she is redefining possibilities for women and families, helping them become millionaires while enjoying quality time together. Loral, thank you for being a part of the summit.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
As this summit launches, we have just gone through several years of real uncertainty. We've seen the volatility in the crypto markets. We've seen the COVID pandemic affecting many people's jobs and livelihoods. We've seen AI come in, taking over jobs in many different sectors.
Yep.
So you have been a financial expert for such a long time. Where do you find the pulse in terms of where people are as they feel into their wealth, their plans for wealth? And how do you find people's mental health affected by their finances?
It's a huge, I'm going to say travesty. Since 2020, the world shut down. No one knew what to do. And I didn't even know what to do. I've spent my entire career building businesses. This is just one of many that I have. And when 2020, I'll never forget, it was March 7th, I flew home from a gig and a 29 gig stopped. So I was traveling. I traveled everywhere in the world to speak and share my message and get people excited. And to ultimately, this is what my mission is, right? To make them millionaires. Because it's not difficult. It's just different. And what we're taught is completely wrong. So when you put like just the stress of unlearning to what I'm teaching them, collapsed on top of a pandemic, and then we're still, I'd say, fighting our way through it at some level. And a lot of people never financially recovered. They took out their credit cards wrong. They didn't pay credit cards. They didn't pay their house payment. Now they have a forbearance. There were so many mistakes made. We did, Dr. Vuu, we actually came to the front line like around probably end of March. And every day we were available on Zoom. I said, I'm not sure how to do all this online and what's going to happen. So let's just help people. And so for free, we would just open up our doors every day on Zoom, and people would come and say, should I pay my mortgage? Should I take out that EILDL loan? Should I take out the PPP loan? What should I do? Because there was no script. There was no playbook for this one. And I think the mental health has become it's so stressful. In fact, I think I told you my son and one of his defensive back football players, they did a thing for student athletes of it's okay to not be okay. Because kids, everything from how you learn to how you go to the bank to all these appointments, all of the working around was enough stress, much less, oh my gosh, I'm not making enough. And I don't know how to spend in this economy. And now let's fast forward. Here we are, fall of 2023, in the heart of a recession. And we're finally going to feel it. I work with world-leading economists. We're going to feel it. The interest rates aren't going to come down. Inflation is going to stay high. And clearly, we've got to walk through a presidential election, which is going to be a fabulous, fun year. And so it's just going to become a little stagnant, but cautious what you do. I think a lot of people don't realize that we're in this and we're in it for a while, and you're going to have some stamina. So your mental health is going to be critical to, I coach people a lot to compartmentalize finance and business. A lot of it is math. It's money in, money out, instead of the emotional attachment. That's what I find with most people. They have such an emotional attachment to money because they don't know it. It's the lack of knowledge, not that it's a fear-based topic, but lack of knowledge creates fear in anything.
Yeah, really, it does seem like there's different components here. One is a mindset component to how you view money, but also recognizing that once the tools are there, potentially some of the fear related to not knowing what to do in very specific situations can be alleviated.
Yeah, it can be. Again, I teach people how to make money, which is one of the first things that when I came out in COVID, wasn't even just to manage what bills to pay or not pay and how do you moderate that, especially those people who weren't getting a paycheck, is how do you get to the market and produce something for the market? Because I believe the market's always open. It is open 24/7 around the world. But most people who go to work, who are trained to be employees, they go to work, they check in, they check out, they live a personal life and a professional life versus an integrated life. So I teach an integrated wealth system of you have a life. So how are you going to hold it all together now that you are home? The kids, again, I'm speaking post-COVID to some people, although 2.7 million families, I think is the number, actually kept their kids home and now are homeschooling. So a lot changed about how people are learning, how they're interacting. And there's just this disconnect of emotional connection. And our teenagers are feeling it. I have a 17-year-old, I have a 24-year-old. They've both been through it. The disconnect of human touch, human connection, and interaction, working on a team. Those are odd skills, especially for kids that are growing up. I know that having a junior in high school right now, it's odd for them to be on team. They're used to this little device called their phone and not having human interaction. What's a conversation? How do you ask a question? How do you make a friend? How do you do any of this stuff? So the pressure of all that's created enormous stress for mental health. And you can put a big word stress on it, but the components of mental health and the breakdown and the disassociation is enormous.
Oftentimes I find so much mental health issues come because there are ways we thought to think about certain things that we start to attach what danger means. Say, for example, being fired at work or not excelling in certain areas, money being one of them. But I also believe that there are certain beliefs, mindsets that are ingrained into those ways of thinking that causes the stress. So a lot of times people think, okay, in order for me to live a financially well life, there are certain careers I must hustle at. I will have to burn out. I have to get these education. And that's basically it. I also have to hustle and burn out. But what I'm finding every time I've heard you speak is it's just a way that we've never really been taught to look at money, that there are resources and different streams that we could start to develop, that once we master those tools, we're not viewing money as this scarce resource that's only coming to a very select few, correct?
Oh, correct. Anyone can be wealthy. At 17 years old, I was given the book Think and Grow Rich is what started my journey. In fact, my daughter just turned 17 last weekend, so I gave her the book Think and Grow Rich, and I said, this would change my life. And being an entrepreneur and then starting to study millionaires. And I've studied millionaire families from the Rockefellers to the Vanderbilts who did not do it right, to watching billionaire families break up. There's 4 things to becoming a millionaire. That is it's not Loral's way of thinking. I studied with the Rich Dad, Poor Dad team, Bob Proctor, you name them. I've studied with the best in the areas of money and business. Real estate was my first millionaire status, and I was gas and oil, and I've done a lot of other since. But my point is, like, when you think about money, most people have what I call inherited behaviors. Some of these terms I've just made up to try to help people understand, like, why are you so locked into this? Anyone can become a millionaire, but the 4 things you have to learn is to make money. The most freedom you're ever going to have is not about the career, which you just said, which job, which career am I going to have? Right now, there's a lot. I mean, that's all changed in the last 2-3 years. So what are the best, highest paid digital marketers of the world are getting a ton of money, copywriters. Now there's ChatGPT, that's cutting them out. It's really cutting into their space. So the technologies and the change that have hit industries have changed so much. So you have to learn, at the end of the day, I teach, you got to live corporate life, meaning you need to be your own enterprise. So you can have a job. In fact, I just got a new client today. I have a lot of pilots. I have lawyers. I have all sorts of different folks who become our client as a job, and they need to have a company. So without the company, they can't really create the wealth, because job money, right? W-2 money, but I'm assuming this is going to go all over the world, so I'm not going to talk just W-2, but if you have a job anywhere in the world, it is the worst quality of money because it's the highest tax money. You make money, you're taxed to pieces, you get to live on what's left. Or you can be an entrepreneur, you make money, you get to take all these legal deductions. See, as an individual, Dr. Vuu, you can't write off your phone. You couldn't write off your vehicle. You couldn't write off this podcast space. You couldn't write off jewelry, wardrobe. You couldn't write any of this stuff off because you as an individual have no right to do that or no legal status to do that. As a business owner and an owner of the business, you get to write all that out. By the way, you also get to employ your kids. So I did this mostly as a single mom. And I wrote we actually just got the business category of the year by the Endies and personal finance book of the year on how to make your kids millionaires. So you could employ your kids. If you don't have some, you should get some. They're tax deductible. So I teach, how do you make money? How do you keep it? How do you invest it and use a team to become a millionaire, or already a millionaire? How do you reduce your taxes and have even a better generational, structure? So the formula is there. It's just not what we're taught. What we're taught is go get a job, go get a career, exactly like you said. I'm going to pick the biggest one that gives me the big salary. Still not going to get you out of the hole. Like, you're still going to overpay tax. You still got other problems. So the financial services world is so segregated and so disjointed, right? It'd be like going to there's the example I use. You'll love this as a doctor. I said, it's like going to a surgical center and the anesthesiologist doesn't show up today, but you're still going to cut. and you don't have any post or pre-op care, so we're still just going to go. That's the ludicrous energy that is around the financial services world. You walk into a bank or financial traditional center and you get the traditional answer. You're not getting the creative answers that millionaires live by, because we live on the alternatives. So I say the healthiest people and the wealthiest people live on the alternatives. We don't live in the normal status of the sheepology of the world. If you want to be super healthy, you live in alternatives, right? I mean, you might use the traditional Western medical care system, just like money. Yes, I'm a multimillionaire. We use the system and we use all the alternatives. And that's what we do different. And that's what people need to learn. So people say to me all the time, why is this so difficult? Because there's not a lot of marketing around it. When you have the firms, the REITs and the publicly traded companies promoting all their products with huge stock money behind them, how does the small individual entrepreneur make it? And it's got tougher since COVID, because everyone says they're an expert here out in this. I call the internet the bathroom wall, because anybody can write anything about anybody. They can say they're an expert in anything. And it's really difficult to do due diligence out here. So I teach, how do you do due diligence on a person, on a business, on a company? How do you actually invest in this economy?
Let's talk about the Jills and Joes that happen to be copywriters or happen to be writers right now and potentially very affected by what's happening with AI. And they're feeling this stress, this anxiety. What's coming next? What are the first practical steps, insights that you would share with them right now in terms of how to maybe manage the fear and uncertainty that's going on in their mind? And what might be some initial steps that they can take to start being able to take control of their situation?
I hope you're enjoying the podcast thus far. Now, I wanted to give you a really neat resource that I've been working on for the past year. Are you living with chronic stress, burnout, or the nagging symptoms of anxiety and depression? Do you find yourself battling fatigue or brain fog, or feeling like you're not performing at your best? Well, what I've been working on all of this year is made especially for you. It is an online virtual event called the Thrive State Summit. You can register now for free at thrivestatesummit.com. But what it is this: you get to connect with and learn from 50 world-renowned thought leaders, experts, and some of your favorite celebrities. We've got people like Bruce Lipton, Vishen Lakhiani, Dave Asprey, Dr. Josh Axe, all united with a shared mission to tackle the mental health crisis that is impacting each and every one of us. Now, the Thrive State Summit isn't just another event. It is really my hope that it becomes a catalyst for change, particularly in this fast-paced world. And so what can you expect? You could expect to take home life-changing takeaways from all our experts, activation sessions to be able to bring you into states of calm and relaxation, really all the resources for you to become the best version of yourself. And finally, proceeds from the Thrive State Summit will go to 4 mental health nonprofits, including Rare Impact Fund, the Trevor Project, Good Days, Genius Recoveries. So please, if you invest in yourself, and please share this resource with your friends and family members. It's something I poured my entire heart into this past year, and I know it's going to help so many people. So register now at thrivestatesummit.com.
So number one, instead of stand back in fear, number one, I need you to lean in. I said, I want you to lean in and learn. I want you to get some knowledge. I have 6 best-selling books. Read them all. There's so much content in there. They're audiobooks, they're ebooks, however, but get new knowledge. And then instead of, again, standing back in fear, and which creates paralysis, get curious. So that's the second thing. So get knowledge, get curious. How is it that other people are making money? How is it that the copywriters that are still making hundreds of thousands, I know some that are making millions, how are they still existing? And they do what I call number 3, no matter what you're doing, even what I'm doing, you always stay really nimble in your distinctions. So I'll say that. So nimble means you got to be able to adjust. You can't just say, this is my plan. Like the people who still build 5 and 10 year business plans, I just laugh at them. I'm like, really? We'll be lucky to get through the next 5 months with what we have in front of us before new technology or something else is going to change. So you always have to be nimble and adjusting. That doesn't mean change the whole plan, but have some trajectory of where do I want to go? What are my big goals? And then create distinctions. Like people say, why is you so successful as a woman and so many people teach money? By distinctions. I came up with new terms. I coined the term living corporate life. So as a family, When you live corporate life, you can employ your kids. There's so many things a family could do. Include them in your real estate company if you're in real estate. Include them in videography. Don't tell me your kids don't know how to do better video. They could probably do better video editing. They could probably do your social media sites. There's so many things you could do as a family. So when the kids are involved and the whole family's involved and employed by the company you own, boy, does your tax game change. Your legacy game changes. It all changes. There's a lot. Number one is you got to get more knowledge. The lack of fear. And I'll liken it just so really people understand when I say it's not fear, it's a lack of knowledge. Like that's not a suggestion. Here's what happens. Just think about a sport, like a sport that you've been scared to do. I don't care. Like I've skied my whole life since I was 4. I think it was the first time I ever skied. I don't remember the first time I skied, but I live in the Lake Tahoe area because I ski. There's 13 resorts here. I just remember telling people that always we talk about the fear of money. I said, that's not even scary. If I took you to the double trip backcountry where I took my kids skiing when they were little, then you should have some fear because then you literally could kill yourself. That's fear. But guess what? The minute you know how to do anything, you know how to ski, now it's exhilarating. So same business, finance, you just don't know. So you put the label fear on it. So lack of knowledge, I believe, isn't about your emotional stuff. It's here. And then you associate, as you said, an emotional attachment to it. And then you hang on to it. Whoever came up with love and money being associated, they have nothing to do with each other. I could love you and has nothing to do with my money here. The fact that families throw that together and say, my spouse won't let me do it. They won't let you? Like, are you in jail? The language patterns around money, the disassociation of it's just a thing, right? It's $1. It's money that has to transact to buy what you want, to have the life you want. You got to cut the emotion and put it back in your logic. And so many people have that collapse. That's actually a massive problem. I've been dealing with that the whole 20, 25 years I've been teaching about money, is people collapse love and money. They collapse just money and emotion. Put the emotion aside. What do you want? If you need some therapy, then go get some for a little bit about what you deserve, because a lot of people don't think they deserve, they're not worth anything. And a lot of that's inherited from your family, how your upbringing is. That's why this book was so important for me, just to do I shouldn't say it's my final, but in the money category, this really puts a bow on it, because I have a 24-year-old who's going to become a CPA. He's going to become an accountant. He's in the finance space. He's going to do a lot of the work for our community and our families because he grew up like this. And his mom, people don't know. He was a college athlete, he played for Georgia Southern. And I remember him saying, Mom, they don't know the difference between a debit and a credit card. You know what? Most parents don't know the difference between a debit and credit card. It's startling, the lack of just basic knowledge.
You mentioned something which I find is a very important mental health distinction. Earlier, you said, instead of being fearful and sit back in fear, lean in and be curious. And that's one of these mental health distinctions, that you actually cannot be fearful and curious at the same time. They're actually completely different states. And if you can get yourself to be curious, all of a sudden you're removing yourself from that fearful moment. If saber-toothed tiger is coming after you, your body is going to be in fear. So if you're sitting there going, I wonder why this thing is leaping towards me, all of a sudden you're dissipating that away. So that's a very important thing in terms of what you said, is be curious about the things that you don't know, because that could be step one in empowering yourself with the tools and knowledge to make big changes.
And Bob Proctor used to do this to me, because I grew up on a farm in Nebraska. I have none of this knowledge. I had none of this information, even these language patterns. And I learned linguistics and NLP. I learned all this. I just leaned in and I studied at 17. And I was working with him at 20, 21 years old. And I remember him telling me to do all these interesting things. So the other thing to do, if you really can't, if you're stuck, when we talk about being curious and how do you get yourself curious, is the other thing, as out of lack of knowledge, I'm just going to put the word judgment. A lot of people go to judgment and criticism before they get curious. Again, you can't be in both states. Okay. So if you really are stuck, write down all the negative crap that comes out of your head or comes into your head, right? I'm judging him. I can't believe he wore a black suit. Oh my gosh, all those earrings are just like, oh my God. Think about all the criticisms and judgments you do, and just write them down, and then you're going to flip them. And you're going to do the positive and present. This is probably the most creative and simple activity that I had to do for Bob over and over to get this old thinking out of my head, because I was programmed a certain way. You work hard, you're going to make money. No, work smart, you're going to make money. That all sounds really awesome, but how the heck do you walk from here to here when, I was even in The Secret when I said money comes easily and frequently. And as I said in The Secret, it feels like a lie. You say those words and it's like, You're so full of shit. No, it's not. It's the hardest thing I've ever done is make money. It doesn't come easily and frequently. So there's this law of attraction doesn't come. I always say I have a new word for it. I call it muscle conditioning. You have to retrain and train your entire mental conditioning. So if it is negative and it's all criticism and judgment, then just write all that crap down. Write it down on one piece of paper, right? And that's just exactly what Bob had me do, right? You line down the paper. This is all your criticism and judgment. Now change it into a positive, present, curious, and or state that you want to be in. And that sounds like a simple task. It to take you a month to do that. And for some of you, just got to detox all that negative out. Like this is all the crap I think about. And this is what I want. No, I'd say, and this is what I want. So if you think whatever you think about money and you really want it to come easily and frequently, then write down. So if you think money's hard and it only comes to special select people, right? Money comes easily and frequently, right? Take my line from The Secret. I have T-shirts. I got tons of people around the world that use that line because it's the one I use. It is the one I use to get through it. And I kept looking at this list. And for one point I had to post it on a wall. So you're looking at at some point, I remember Bob saying this to me. He said, at some point you're going to look at it and you're going to laugh and say, I can't even believe I'm this ridiculous that I think like this anymore. And you will shift. You'll shift. And it's a repetition thing now. Like you don't go to the gym once and all of a sudden you're strong. You've got to go over and over.
As you're talking about this, let's label a few of these because I'm pretty sure you heard almost all of them. But when you're the person thinking this stuff, you're like, oh no, this is real, right? But if somebody else who actually known and broke through these barriers mentions like, oh my God, I actually do think that way. So what are some of these common misconceptions or beliefs that people have about wealth building, and how can we start to, and how do these misconceptions actually contribute to financial stress?
They come from inherited behaviors and just people who don't stop and recreate their life or rethink about how things are. So money's difficult to make is a number one. And I hate sales. When you buy something, somehow you were sold to walk into that store to have your need met. So selling is the capital movement. So I call it service. If you don't like the word sell, call it serve. You're going to serve other people. So I serve other people. And yes, I'm going to sell mentoring programs and coaching programs and mastermind programs as the process of getting somebody into a community to start thinking that way. So you're going to sell and it's making money. And so it's not hard. It's different. It's not difficult. It's different. Right. And so the other thing too, like for just kids, I'll talk about kids stuff. When parents say we can't afford it, you can afford anything you want. You just haven't learned to make the money to have it. And you don't say, don't ask for, why can't you ask for anything you want? You can ask for anything you want in your life because you deserve it. Now that's a hard statement for a lot of women that's a big pill.
Yeah.
Let me pause really quick. I'm going to get something for my throat.
Yeah, I got to say for me, initially during the entrepreneurial world, I came out working in a hospital and recognizing that the only income stream I had was doing more work, doing more surgeries. And when I went into entrepreneurial space, I said to myself, I'm not a sales guy. I'm somebody that's really hard-based and hard-focused. I can't like run sales down somebody. I used to think that making money outside of medicine was hard. But to be honest, to make true wealth while in medicine, being the technical person doing the surgeries, you're going to burn yourself out doing that. And so there were just all these limiting beliefs that I realized that I had when it came to finances. Why did other people have it easier?
You're right.
Yeah.
And again, the work hard and work smart sounds great. How do you actually do it is what I believe, again, because I'm super hard. I love helping people figure this out. And I love when the light bulb finally goes on. And it's not as hard as they said. It's a hill to climb and you've got to walk to the other side because you have to atrophy all that old belief, all those old behaviors. And it's a lot more behavioral. So instead of staying in I would say the mental, emotional state of it, I get it to, and I notice a big distinction of mine is I get it to the behavior, very logical. Like, how do you pay your bills differently when you have a company? Which company, if you have an LLC, an S Corp or C Corp, those are US terms, and are you, who pays for the cell phone? You don't anymore because you have companies that can pay for it. So which one pays? There's a behavioral just logic that I know, having been taught the other ways, this is logical. If you want to make money, you got to sell something, which means you got to serve somebody. So what is it that you're good at? And why is it that other people, to your point, make more money when what you provide is better? They market, they sell. You have to learn marketing and sales. And the biggest point I want to loop back to what you said is the technician, the doer. Yeah. Michael Gerber, he wrote about it best in his E-Myth book. Just because she was the greatest pie maker doesn't mean she can run a pie shop. right? The greatest surgeons need to stay in surgical rooms, but there are surgeons like you, like Dr. Gladden, like there's a lot, right, who have actually moved from the surgery centers out to be an educator to teach people. Because here's the key word I want people to really write. I want you to write this down. The wealthiest people do not do, we lead. So in my Yes Energy book, I wrote about do less, make more. I think a lot of people thought that was like the checkout way of like the 4-hour work week with Tim Ferriss. All he did is start pointing out, subcontract your life, right? Start using a team to have the life you want. Like I early on started this phrase of people say, I really procrastinate. My coaching class, I procrastinated that. I said, well, you shouldn't be doing it. So procrastination is usually two things. Either you don't know how to do it or you don't want to do it. So just don't hire it. And you're like, oh my gosh, but then how am I going to have the money? Make more money, serve more people, which is marketing and sales. So you have to do more volume to have the money, which means you need to lead more and stand back, not do it all. And so many people, that's where they're stuck being an entrepreneur. They're doing their marketing. They're doing their sales. They're doing the fulfillment. They're doing the customer service. There's not enough of you. And worse than that, you don't have enough skills.
I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. If you are, I just wanted to let you know, join our community. There's so many free resources and a great community of people that desire health, happiness, human potential to have more in their life, more health, more energy. And when you have those two things together, you could create more happiness, more abundance, whether it be financial, romantic, all these things in your life. And if you're just starting out, you don't know where to go, just sign up for thrivestatestarter.com, because in there you're going to get a bundle of information that includes a longevity ebook, a longevity and performance resource guide, lecture notes that come from my keynotes at Google, at Fortune 500 companies, all the insights in that keynote in lecture slide form given to you. And then finally, breathwork. I share 3 powerful breathwork exercises to access calm, which really gives you clarity and peace during the day, to access energy if you need to wake up and really motivate yourself, and finally a breathwork routine that you could do every single morning so that you could be very intentional with how you create that day. You can find all this stuff delivered free to your inbox at thrivestatestarter.com. And our community is growing. If you want to be a part of a community of people that desire the Thrive State, that are really in Thrive State themselves and help other people along with that, you could be a part of the community. You can get group coaching from me. We do breathwork sessions, meditation sessions, and you also get to drop in and participate in podcasts in the future. You could find more about the community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. So check out those resources. You're not going to be disappointed. And please enjoy the remainder of this podcast.
As you're mentioning this, it really brings up some really common just misbeliefs that are out there. I like that book that you just showed, How to Make Your Kids Millionaires. And there's this part of work that you do is really about legacy.
Yeah.
What are you basically sharing with people? The idea that you're talking to someone right now and they're like, I'm barely affording to make my life work. It would be great to be able to make my kids millionaires. What are the type of mental shifts can you let people be aware of that is possible? Because they're probably thinking, how's that even possible? I can't even take care of my own life. I'm barely surviving.
And so here's what I'm going to say too. Those kids are like, they're following you. They already know that you're stressed. They already know you don't know. They already know. I always tell parents, I don't care if your kids are older. Like I have a new client that's coming in with kids in their 20s. And I said, even though the book breaks down like 0 to 5, 6 to 8, all the way to 20. And it's what I did with my kids. Logan's 24 and, Tristan's now 17. So it's not only what I did, but also I have a co-author, Kyle, who is a fighter pilot. So he was an employee for 25 years. He served in the military, traveled the world as an Air Force fighter pilot. So he did the same thing, but very differently. So it's 2 stories, 2 families, very different. And the whole theme of the book is pick a path, make a plan, do something. So if you're thinking about me, my first word is include them. Like I didn't just leave my kids home. I took them with me. I took them with me all over the world. They just merged into the company. We had one big life. And yeah, they went to school. And then I know the school I was taking them on, which is international travel, and we wouldn't just go in and work. Then we would stay. Like we go to South Africa, we would go. Yes, we went on some great safaris and some big trips. And we went to shanty towns. We did charity stuff. Like, so the range of life they saw, and put your kids on an independent study for a week. Take them with you. When's the last time I'd speak to the parents who go to work that your kids even know what you do? Most kids, if you ask them today, don't even know what you do. My kids know from the minute could speak. My mom helps people with money, right? They help people. Helps them make money, helps them figure out what to do with their money. She teaches money. Like, it was just pretty simple conversation. And now my son's going to be on the other tech side of teaching money. So I think inclusion is a huge part in the conversation at home, and you can control that. I don't care if you haven't figured out how to make money for yourself. Every 3 weeks, I teach a course called the Millionaire Intensive, which breaks down, me for 2 hours, just breaking down what does it take to be a millionaire, because any of you could do it. I've taken people homeless. Literally, people walked into my seminars, said, I can't afford it, but can I come to the workshop to learn to make money? And they've become billionaires because they just needed to switch that little, like, something in their behavior and mindset and what they were doing, and turn it all back on. You all have the ability to do it. You just don't know how, and what you're being taught is not going to teach you how to make money. It's being an entrepreneur. And then once that starts, then by nature, you're going to say, man, I don't want to overpay taxes, so I better learn to keep it. And then I need to learn to invest it. So legacy to me was growing up on a farm where we never talked about it. I'm not just picking on my family. No families talk about it. 90% of them don't even know how to talk about it, which is also why in here, like, I even give scripts. So how do you even begin the conversation? How do you talk about it? My YouTube channel is a complete family oriented channel. 5 years and up can watch it. And it's all sorts of topics. It's every day. Just teach, like, put that in your home. And so say, what'd you learn on Loral's YouTube channel today? What'd you learn today? What do you want to do about it? And so you just start an inclusive conversation about, we're going to do this together. We're going to make more money together. We're going to keep the money together. We're going to learn to invest together. And that's the legacy. Because if you just have, which is interesting, because the place where we met, I'm seeing the same trend of very successful medical professionals, and their kids don't know that mom or dad have become so successful. And I said, and so you're going to leave those kids behind without this education, and then you're going to let them inherit all this money? They're just going to blow it. So that's not legacy. They need to have learned values. They learned the character that it took to build it, because maybe they were just they expected me trust fund kids. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah.
They've got to learn to fish, all of them on their own. And I'm rigorous about it. And I talk a lot about responsibility and consequences. And I think the other thing that's happened in COVID, we've seen it, and I've seen it a lot in the interviews with the book, and as we've come really out with the whole parenting conversation, is parenting is like, go to YouTube. Good, then go to my YouTube. At least they're watching some good content. TikTok is educating kids more than the abdication of social media to parent your children is, I think, one of the highest irresponsible moves parents could make. Don't have kids if that's what you're going to do. You got to build character. You need to be with them. You need the time. Call that judgment, call that opinion, that it changes you when you bring your kids into the fold. You build a legacy. It's not you build it and hand it over. You build it together as a family.
That's beautiful. And I know many people are going to be so curious to hear your answer on this, but as a single mother, you've been able to manage achieving tremendous amount of success. And you mentioned some of those secrets that are really incorporating them in. But what have been your pillars, your go-tos for the stresses of being a single mom, building multiple different businesses? What were your resources and tools to be able to create this thriving and balanced life?
A tribe. Call it a team. I called it a team. A lot of people call it tribes. Grew up with a lot of aunts and uncles, and it was just me, my mom, and dad, because I grew up on a farm, and then my mom became a caterer. Amazing. So it was a cool life, but they never identified themselves as really entrepreneurs. And looking back, they were very successful entrepreneurs, right? Farmers that are generational farmers now, extremely successful, because corporate farming is trying to take over everything. So to stay in that game is a big game. But we didn't, that's not the language pattern we learned, right? And I'm talking to every one of you out there. A lot of you didn't know what your families did. You really look back and think it was good, bad, or indifferent, whatever story you have about it, which, by the way, you can change your story at any time. So your story doesn't have to be negative. So I would say for me, it was like building a team right away. Like I knew the moment I got pregnant with Logan in 1999, January 8th, I'll never forget the day. I was like, I lived in Sausalito, California, which for those of you who've never been out to Marin County is sunny. It's right on the water. And I was like, I lived a pretty cool life. I was working with Bob Proctor, learning to be an entrepreneur, but not a great entrepreneur. And that was the moment I said, I'm not going to be a broke single mom. I'm not going to do what a lot of people victimize themselves to be single. Like I knew he didn't want to be a dad, but I was ready to be a mom. So I just took it on with a vengeance, and I took it on differently. And that's when I just got more team. You said, how did you hire it? You figure it out. And I believe me, I can get creative funding or creative financing with you. You learn to finance the beginning parts of it, or you just learn to sell. Like I just started selling my coaching. I was the advisor with the master distributorship of the cash flow game. So I would teach cash flow. So what I did is I added extra coaching programs. Because what do you think people do after they play cash flow? I have a Robert Kiyosaki game. How do I get this in my life? So I said, I'll be your coach. So I just started adding 5, 10, 15, now 20, all the way to $35,000 programs where I made that money. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I need a few clients to make the kind of money to hire the right nanny. And here's the thing about a nanny. I don't hire young little au pairs from around the world. That's cute and that's interesting. And I hire young, very active grandmas. They've already raised a family. I have a whole formula for how to hire as a single mom, because you need that life support. And then moms get over being threatened. Believe me, you are still mom. You will always be mom. But I let them be part of our family. And I've always had just this amazing women help raise my children and not be threatened or weird about it. Like I knew what my role was. Like they're going to do cool stuff. They're going to teach them things I'm not going to teach them. So you just have to figure out another model. And I think there's just so many. And even today, there's still like this Warden June Cleaver model of how it all needs to be. What does it need to be for you and your family? You define it. And yeah, you can bring in some rituals from the past. Like I have some cool rituals from Nebraska, and my mom and my dad's like cool stuff, and grandma and grandpa, like that's all cool. So it's not like you're eliminating it. It's just exclude the parts that you want and make up a whole new story, make up a whole new platform. So I knew I wanted to just do it differently. And so I say team, and the other side of the team that really helped keep this in the game was mentors. I spent the money every year to have the greatest mentors. Many of my early journey was Bob Proctor. And then he and I were business partners. People would pay us $100,000 a year to work with he and I for 1 year. He and I are partners on that program called Head of the Table for 6-7 years in the 2000s. So you learn to make money by providing service and what people need. So what is it that you do that you can help other people? And you put a business around it. You don't need to go create a new invention. You don't need a new widget. You don't need new glasses. You don't need a new pen. You don't need any of these new things. You have it. What can you do to recreate a way that you could provide value and service? And just like this doesn't take does it take a Zoom? You can get a free Zoom account and just start not sharing your knowledge for free. And for a lot of women, that's why I love being a woman, because I can pick on women a little stronger than most men can. They get all offended and cry. You got to have to come to the forefront and make your prices worth it. And I also have a huge thing. I have one more tip to women. You don't charge less because you're a woman. I make more money than most of my male counterparts because I'm worth it. I deserve it. And I provide amazing service and education to my clients. You got to get there. And it's not cocky. It's confident. And boy, there's a line that a lot of people love to judge from versus say, I'm curious how you got that confident. You don't think that I hired Sharon Lechter. You don't think she's one of my best friends. I call her my financial mom. I spent money getting here. I did not by myself. I spent money learning sales training. I hated sales. I was just like most of you. So I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars learning to be the best in the world selling from the stage. And I became the highest records of any woman in the world selling from a stage. So these aren't like bragging rights. These are things I just said, I'm going to go figure out how to do it. And so you become a problem solver is probably another word I want to put on your positive. Instead of criticizing and downplaying yourself, become a problem. Well, how could we do it? If you just started answering that question every day, instead of what I can't do, what could you do? How could you do it differently? Where could you live? Did you ever pick up and move? Most people live within the vicinity of their family because it doesn't occur to them. You can live wherever you want.
Yeah. This is beautiful. I think through our conversation.
I have an on switch, no off switch. So you just tell me.
I love just all these resources, which I can't wait to tie it all together, because I think for people who have financial stress, so much of it is just not knowing and being so married and tied to the beliefs of what was passed on to you. And what you showed today is just a couple of new ways of thinking about things. And all of a sudden, oh, wow, you could be empowered. You could be curious. So thank you for that. And I can't wait, because you're one of our speakers that have just been so generous with your VIP offer. And the people that get the VIP, you're going to have such great resources, which we'll talk about in a second. But remember, when you choose to do the VIP, not only are you getting the recordings for life, transcripts, and you're helping out 4 mental health nonprofits, including Good Days, Rare Impact, Genius Recoveries, and the Trevor Project.
We can help you at any level. You don't just say, I can't afford. You don't even know what you can afford. Like, you just don't. You haven't even tapped those resources inside yourself yet. So we're giving the ebook copy of that. And like I said, we're giving 2 tickets to our VIP, means you actually get the recordings too. So normally if you come, because the Millionaire Intensive is a free event, but upgrading is a $50. So we're giving two tickets, which gets you $100 worth of stuff. But it gives you the lifetime recordings of the Millionaire Intensive. Because again, what I say earlier, you have repetition. You need to listen to it over and over. And all of a sudden one day you're going to be like, I get it. Like the bell's going to go off and you're going to get it, but it's that repetition. And inside of the Millionaire Intensive, after I talk about that, I talk about the engines that drive the most successful businesses. So you got to come to know what those are. Two big engines that drive every company. And every company I start, it's the first 2 things I do. And I start with these 2 engines and they drive the entire company. And you just have to fuel it with marketing and sales. But you have to have the engines, otherwise you don't have the base even set. And then we switch gears and we teach you about your engine. What is your business going to be? And I don't care if you don't have a business today, you're going to make up something. You could be Doc's affiliate, you could be my affiliate, you could be, I don't care whose affiliate you are, you could sell somebody else's stuff. I sold Kiyosaki stuff until I figured out what I wanted to sell. I didn't know I was going to sell. I just knew I needed to do something in the topic that I wanted. And so I picked the Rich Dad Poor Dad brand and I became the master distributor cash flow game. I have a game, I have a Millionaire Maker game. Sell my game. I don't care what you sell. The point is, you need to learn the entrepreneurial energy. There's an energy, not just a mindset to it. You've got to learn. Marketing is getting a lead. Somebody interested in you. How do you do that in today's economy? Social media, all over social media. Then you got to bring them into a funnel. Okay, so what's a funnel? That's part of your sales process. Of what do they want? Do they just want a book? Do they actually want a mentor? Do they want a one-on-one? Do they want to fly into Tahoe and meet with me and like do that experience? What experience do you want? What do you need? And what do you want? There's the whole difference. And then what the coolest part of it is we put them into a 3-hour marketplace. So we actually have them on Zoom, go eye to eye and say, my name's Loral. I'm a money expert. I have a book to sell today. It's $20. It's my Make Kids Millionaires book. And then you actually teach them how to do. So we teach you how to do a financial exchange on Zoom. No one has ever done it before. We've been doing it since COVID started in 2020, and we're crushing it. I have clients making $19,000 in a few days because once you get it, and we moved the marketplace into a Facebook group called the Millionaire Intensive. So they just keep going. Like there's thousands of people out there making money selling their stuff. So I don't care. Go sell your stuff. That's how you're going to make money. I did a program with my son and daughter when they were really little called Never Pay Your Kids an Allowance. Because an allowance is like a paycheck, which means it's a fixed income on a fixed set of skills. No, you're not fixed. You have total potential. So it's a process you take your kids through about identifying tasks and what they're worth. Is washing the dishes more than detailing a car. Of course, you're going to get more for detailing the car. Shoveling snow. That was a huge one for my kids. We live in mountains. They had to go and shovel snow, or I could hire somebody. So it's finding those things at the household that you negotiate, teaching them to be an entrepreneur so they can design their own money. Every month, how much do you want to make? 100,000. What do you want to make, kids? And they design it. I'm not their bank. They're little brains of their bank. They're going to make money with this and their ability. So I'm going to give them all these goodies.
That is so generous. Thank you so much. Loral, you've done such great work, and I know certainly that financial stress is one of the major drivers and contributors to mental health. And I think after this conversation...
all the way to suicide, Doc. Come on. It's rough. When people really don't see there's a way out, there is a way out. You're all capable of doing something. And don't say, oh, I'm disabled and I'm this and I'm that. I have been a financial expert for the Disavoom community. There's an answer to all of these problems that you see. Start seeing the solution. Be the problem solver. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for your summit. I'm excited for the people here. And I hope they really take advantage of what you're offering because you're doing a lot of heavy lifting getting this process ready to really serve a lot of lives.
Loral, I appreciate you for your wisdom, for your energy, and for the legacy you want to leave for the people around the world. Thank you again.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Thrive State podcast. And if you're finding that this content is really helping you and your family members, please consider supporting our mission and our cause of elevating health, happiness, and human potential for people all over the world. You can do so by making sure that you subscribe to this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family members, and leaving us a 5-star review wherever podcasts are heard. All these things are going to really help elevate the show and to give us the resources to continue to bring more content just like this to yourself as well as the people that you love. If you haven't already, you might want to consider joining our community. We actually have a community where people get to engage with me in group sessions where we do breath work, meditation, where we do challenges together, really to be able to get us access to health, happiness, human potential, so that we could have longevity and performance in our life as well. You can check out our community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. And if you haven't already, pick up a copy of my book, Thrive State. It really gives you all the tools, the pillars that you need to create a blueprint to control the energetics of your life. Who are you? How you show up in the world? The choices that you consistently make create an energy in your body, and you can control this. And when you can control that, you also control the messages you give to your DNA that gives you access, again, to optimal health, longevity, and peak performance. And let me also just share a free gift to you. If you haven't already, please pick up my longevity and performance bundle where I share lecture notes, ebooks, breathwork exercises, and longevity and performance resources at thrivestatestarter.com. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you for helping us grow. Remember always, my friends, that you are your best medicine.